There are places on this planet that seem designed to test the limits of life itself. Territories where nature reveals its most relentless face, where silence is shattered by violent winds, extreme temperatures, or invisible forces that turn landscapes into true arenas of survival. Some of these destinations are so dangerous that governments restrict access. Others are avoided because of legends, dark stories, or very real threats that remain present to this day. But what drives someone to approach the unknown? What is it about these places that blends fear and fascination in equal measure? In today's documentary, you will cross scorching deserts, walk over burning craters, and discover islands where the simple act of setting foot can be fatal. Prepare to explore 30 of the most dangerous places in the world. Real-life settings that look like they came straight out of a movie, yet exist beyond imagination. Just a few kilometers off the coast of Sao Paulo lies a place so dangerous that access is forbidden to ordinary visitors. From a distance, Snake Island appears to be just another stretch of land covered in Atlantic forest, surrounded by dark blue waters. But what turns this setting into one of the most feared places on Earth is something hidden among the rocks and dense vegetation. The island is home to one of the highest concentrations of snakes in the world, including the golden lancehead, an extremely venomous species found nowhere else on the planet. It's estimated that thousands of them are scattered across this relatively small territory. Geographic isolation led them to evolve in a unique way, making their venom even more potent. Today, only authorized researchers are allowed to set foot on the island, always under strict safety protocols. There are no tourist trails, no inns, no visitor facilities of any kind. It is a territory ruled by nature in its rawest state, a reminder that there are still places where humanity is not in control. In the heart of California lies a place where heat pushes the limits of human endurance. Death Valley is known as one of the hottest places on Earth, with temperatures that have exceeded 50 degrees Celsius. During the summer, the air feels as if it burns your lungs, and the scorching ground turns every step into an extreme effort. The landscape is surreal. Golden dunes, reddish mountains, and vast salt flats create a scene that feels almost otherworldly. At Badwater Basin, the lowest point in North America, the white ground reflects the sun in an almost hypnotic glow. But behind the stark beauty lies real danger: rapid dehydration, heat stroke, and total isolation. Despite the harsh conditions, the area attracts adventurers, photographers, and explorers captivated by the raw force of nature. Life exists here, but only in its most resilient forms. Death Valley is not just a desert. It is living proof that our planet still holds territories where survival is a true challenge. At first glance, Lake Natron looks like a surreal painting. Its waters can take on intense shades of red and orange, creating an almost alien landscape in northern Tanzania. But behind this hypnotic beauty lies an extreme reality. The lake is highly alkaline, with levels of salt and sodium carbonate so elevated that the water can burn skin and eyes. Temperatures are also high, and constant evaporation leaves behind salt crusts that harden like stone. Animals that come into direct contact with the lake may not survive, and some bodies end up preserved by the water's chemical composition, creating striking and unsettling images. Even so, natron is essential to life. It is one of the main breeding grounds for East African flamingos, which have adapted to the hostile conditions to protect their nests from predators. It is a place where danger and survival coexist in a delicate balance. Lake Natron reminds us that nature is not made only of paradise-like landscapes, but also of extremes that challenge everything we think we know. At first glance, Mount Washington may seem like just another peak among the White Mountains in the northeastern United States. But don't be fooled by its relatively modest elevation. What makes this place truly dangerous is not its height, it's the weather.
The summit of Mount Washington is known for recording some of the most severe meteorological conditions on the planet. Wind gusts have exceeded 370 kilometers per hour, figures that for decades were considered world records. In a matter of minutes, the weather can shift dramatically. Blue skies turn into a fierce snowstorm, and wind chills plunge to extreme levels. Even in summer, conditions can catch unprepared hikers off guard. The combination of wind, cold, and low visibility has already placed many adventurers in critical situations. Yet the mountain is also home to an active scientific observatory, where researchers study the forces of nature in real time. Mount Washington proves that danger is not always found on the tallest peaks in the world. Sometimes it lies where the weather decides to reveal its absolute power.
In northeastern Ethiopia lies one of the most inhospitable environments on Earth. The Danakil Depression is often called the hottest inhabited place on the planet. Here, average annual temperatures exceed 34 degrees Celsius, and the ground looks like something from another world. The landscape is almost surreal. Hydrothermal springs bubble in shades of yellow, green, and orange, fueled by intense volcanic activity and mineral-rich soil. The smell of sulfur fills the air, while heat rises from the ground as if the earth itself were breathing fire. Nearby, the Erda Ale volcano holds one of the few permanent lava lakes in the world. Even under these extreme conditions, the Afar people have lived and worked in the region for centuries, manually extracting blocks of salt beneath a relentless sun. It is an environment that combines hypnotic beauty with constant risk. Toxic gases, seismic activity, and extreme heat make Danakil one of the most dangerous destinations on the planet. A place where nature reveals its most primitive and absolutely unforgiving face.
In the middle of the Indian Ocean, surrounded by turquoise waters and treacherous reefs, lies an island wrapped in mystery and total isolation. North Sentinel Island is part of the Andaman Archipelago, yet it is unlike any other place on Earth. It is home to one of the most isolated peoples in the world, the Sentinelese, who have lived there for thousands of years. They reject any outside contact and firmly defend their territory. Over the decades, attempts at approach have resulted in violent confrontations, leading the Indian government to completely ban visitation, both to protect the inhabitants and to prevent further conflict. But the danger is not only in the residents' response. Even exposure to common illnesses could be devastating for a population that has never had contact with the modern world. North Sentinel Island remains one of the last truly untouched territories on Earth, a place where time seems to have stopped, and where human access is not merely unwelcome, it is impossible.
Connecting La Paz to the region of Los Yungas is a road that became globally known by a chilling nickname, the Death Road. Carved into the Bolivian mountains, this narrow route winds along steep cliffs with drops of hundreds of meters just inches from the wheels. For decades before a safer alternative route was built, trucks, buses, and cars shared minimal space, often under heavy rain, dense fog, and frequent landslides. There were no guardrails. A single miscalculation could mean a fatal fall. Today, heavy traffic has decreased, but the road has transformed into a popular destination for adventurous cyclists seeking adrenaline. Even so, the danger remains very real. The combination of high altitude, sharp curves, and uneven surfaces demands constant focus. The Death Road is a reminder of how humanity's need for connection can confront the most extreme geographic challenges. A path where the scenery is breathtaking, quite literally, and where every turn carries a measure of courage. In 1986, a nuclear disaster forever changed the history of Chernobyl. What was once an active industrial region became a silent exclusion zone, frozen in time. The explosion of reactor number 4 released a radioactive cloud that spread across much of Europe, forcing the immediate evacuation of thousands of people. Today, walking through Pripyat feels like stepping into a post-apocalyptic scene. Empty buildings, abandoned schools, toys scattered across the floor. The iconic Ferris wheel in the amusement park was never officially opened and still stands there, rusting, as a symbol of everything that was abruptly interrupted. Although radiation levels have decreased in many areas, the risk remains. Visits are allowed only with authorization and specialized guidance. Prolonged exposure continues to be dangerous. Chernobyl is not just a hazardous place. It is a powerful reminder of the consequences of technology when something goes out of control. A territory where silence speaks louder than any sound.
In the heart of Central Africa rises one of the most active and unpredictable volcanoes on the planet, Mount Nyiragongo. At night, its summit glows in intense red, revealing one of the largest permanent lava lakes in the world. It is a hypnotic spectacle, and an extremely dangerous one. What makes Nyiragongo so feared is the speed of its eruptions. Its lava is unusually fluid, capable of racing down the slopes at astonishing speeds, reaching populated areas in a short time. In 2002 and again in 2021, lava flows advanced toward the city of Goma, destroying homes and forcing mass evacuations. Even so, guided expeditions take adventurers to the rim of the crater, where it is possible to observe the lake of fire bubbling beneath their feet. The experience is both mesmerizing and unsettling, a stark reminder that we stand on a living Earth. Mount Nyiragongo is not merely a mountain, it is a natural force, pulsing with energy, ready to remind the world who is truly in command.
In the far east of Russia lies a village where the cold is not just intense, it is extreme. Oymyakon is known as the coldest inhabited place on the planet. In winter, temperatures can drop below -50 degrees Celsius, with records nearing -70 degrees Celsius. Here, the simple act of breathing outdoors can freeze your eyelashes. Car engines must be kept running to prevent them from locking up, pipes freeze, cell phones stop working, and exposed skin can suffer frostbite within minutes. The landscape is white and silent, blanketed by a thick layer of snow and ice for much of the year. Even under these nearly unimaginable conditions, around 500 people live there permanently. Daily life demands constant adaptation, a protein-rich diet, extremely heavy clothing, and remarkable physical resilience. Oymyakon proves that human beings can survive in environments that seem impossible, a place where the cold sets the rules and where every sunrise is a victory against nature itself. In northwestern Bolivia, where the Andes Mountains meet the Amazon, lies one of the most biodiverse and unpredictable places on Earth. Madidi National Park is home to thousands of plant and animal species, many still unknown to science. At first glance, it is a green paradise. Winding rivers cut through dense forest, birdsong echoes among towering trees, and life pulses in every inch of the jungle. But behind this lush abundance lies a wild and demanding environment. The forest shelters jaguars, venomous snakes, disease-carrying insects, and terrain that is difficult to navigate. Constant humidity, intense heat, and thick vegetation can quickly turn a trail into a test of physical and mental endurance. Exploring Madidi requires experienced guides and careful planning. It is a place where nature has not been tamed, nor does it intend to be. Here, beauty and danger walk side by side, reminding us that the richest ecosystems on Earth can also be the most unforgiving. For centuries, Mount Sinabung remained silent. But in 2010,
After nearly 400 years of inactivity, it awakened, and since then has become one of Indonesia's most unpredictable volcanoes. Located in northern Sumatra, Sinabung frequently sends massive columns of ash kilometers into the sky. Pyroclastic flows race down at slopes with devastating speed, consuming everything in their path. Entire villages have been evacuated, and thousands of people have lost their homes during recent eruptions. The landscape surrounding the volcano is marked by ash-covered fields, burned trees, and abandoned buildings. Even so, many residents insist on staying nearby, tied to the fertile land that, ironically, the volcano itself helps enrich. Mount Sinabung is a powerful portrait of nature's duality, destruction and fertility coexisting side by side. A reminder that the ground's sustaining life can, at any moment, transform it completely.
The Sahara Desert is so vast it seems endless. Stretching across multiple countries in North Africa, it is the largest hot desert on the planet. Giant dunes shift with the wind, creating a hypnotic landscape of golden waves beneath an unforgiving sky. During the day, temperatures can exceed 45 degrees Celsius. At night, they drop dramatically, turning scorching heat into biting cold. Water is scarce, distances are deceptive, and sandstorms can arise suddenly, reducing visibility to nearly zero. Throughout history, caravans crossed the Sahara, guided only by the stars. Today, even with modern technology, getting lost remains a real danger. Dehydration can set in quickly, and the desert's silent vastness amplifies the feeling of isolation. The Sahara is not just sand. It is an extreme environment where every decision matters, an ocean of dunes that tests endurance, navigation, and courage.
About 50 kilometers off the coast of San Francisco, a cluster of rocky islands rises from the cold waters of the Pacific. The Farallon Islands appear harsh and isolated, and they truly are. Strong winds, rough seas, and steep cliffs make approaching them difficult and dangerous. But the real reason for their notoriety lies beneath the surface. The waters surrounding the Farallons are one of the world's primary habitats for great white sharks. The abundance of seals and sea lions turns the area into a strategic hunting ground for these formidable predators. Access to the islands is restricted. They serve as a vital refuge for thousands of seabirds and protected species. Scientists conduct research there, facing severe weather conditions and constant isolation. The Farallon Islands are an example of untouched nature, where humans are merely occasional visitors. A wild territory shaped by the ocean and dominated by natural forces that remind us the planet still holds dangerous and little explored frontiers.
The highest point on Earth, the dream of thousands of climbers, and at the same time, one of the most dangerous places on the planet. Mount Everest rises 8,848 meters above sea level, piercing the skies between Nepal and Tibet. But the real challenge begins above 8,000 meters in the so-called death zone. There, oxygen is so scarce that the human body slowly begins to shut down. Every step demands extreme effort. The intense cold can freeze equipment and limbs within minutes. Storms form without warning, and avalanches pose a constant threat. Even with modern technology, experienced guides, and meticulous planning, the mountain has claimed many lives over the decades. Some bodies remain there, preserved in the ice, becoming silent markers along the path to the summit. Climbing Everest means confronting your own physical and mental limits, a challenge where glory and risk walk side by side, and where nature always has the final word. In the middle of the Karakum Desert,
a fiery crater has been burning non-stop for more than 5 decades. Known as the Door to Hell, the Darvaza crater was formed in 1971 when a Soviet drilling operation accidentally opened an underground cavern filled with natural gas. To prevent the toxic release from spreading, scientists decided to set it on fire, believing the flames would last only a few days. They never went out. Measuring about 70 meters in diameter, the glowing pit lights up the desert night with a hypnotic orange blaze. The intense heat can be felt from several meters away, and the ground around it is unstable. Although visitors are allowed to approach, the site remains dangerous, both because of the extreme heat and the gases that are constantly released. It looks like something out of a science fiction film, yet it is entirely real. The Darvaza crater is a striking reminder of how human intervention can create unexpected and permanent phenomena. On the northern coast of Namibia lies a stretch of shoreline that seems pulled from a post-apocalyptic landscape. The Skeleton Coast earned its name from the countless shipwrecks scattered across the Ramal, corroded by time and salt. Here, the Namib Desert meets the Atlantic Ocean in a brutal collision. Thick fog rolls in constantly, drastically reducing visibility. Powerful ocean currents and treacherous sandbanks have deceived countless sailors over the centuries. For those who venture inland, the challenge is just as extreme. The climate is arid, fresh water is scarce, and distances are vast. Isolation is nearly absolute, yet the region sustains surprising life. Seals, hyenas, and even desert-adapted elephants. The Skeleton Coast is both desolate and mesmerizing, a place where nature seems to have drawn a line between survival and abandonment. Lost in the middle of the South Atlantic, Bouvet Island is considered one of the most isolated islands on the planet. A territory of Norway, it is surrounded by icy waters and frequent storms, thousands of kilometers from the nearest continent. The landscape is dominated by ice, volcanic rock, and steep slopes. Much of the island is covered by glaciers, and access by sea is extremely difficult due to strong waves and the absence of natural harbors. Simply landing there is already a complex logistical challenge. There is no permanent population. Only rare scientific expeditions manage to reach the island, often facing unpredictable weather and freezing temperatures. The isolation is so extreme that any emergency can become critical within hours. Bouvet Island represents the outer limit of human presence, a remote fragment of the planet where silence is absolute and nature reigns undisturbed, a place almost inaccessible and utterly unforgiving. At the foot of Mount Fuji lies a dense and silent forest that evokes both curiosity and unease. Aokigahara Forest grows over an ancient field of solidified lava, the result of historic volcanic eruptions. The uneven ground is filled with lava-formed caves, twisted roots, and extremely dense vegetation. The thickness of the trees blocks the wind, creating a profound silence that can feel unsettling. Compasses sometimes show irregular readings due to the minerals in the soil, which can disorient unprepared visitors. Over the years, the area has gained notoriety because of tragic stories and sensitive incidents, leading authorities to reinforce signage and prevention efforts, including supportive messages posted along the trails. Despite its reputation, Aokigahara is also a place of striking natural beauty, with hiking paths, ice caves, and unique landscapes. It is a space where nature creates an intense and introspective atmosphere, reminding us that danger is not always visible, but can lie in the combination of environment, isolation, and the human mind. In eastern Java stands a volcano that seems to defy the laws of nature. Ijen volcano is famous for a rare and astonishing phenomenon, blue flames that illuminate the crater at night. This spectacle occurs due to the combustion of sulfuric gases that escape under high pressure and ignite upon contact with oxygen. The result is an intense blue glow, almost supernatural. But behind the beauty lies an extremely hostile environment. Inside the crater is one of the most acidic lakes in the world, its turquoise waters concealing dangerously high levels of acidity. The air is thick with sulfur, and local workers, known as sulfur miners, endure grueling conditions, often with minimal protection. Climbing Ijen requires physical preparation and constant awareness of toxic gases. It is a hypnotic yet hazardous setting, a place where fire burns blue, the air feels heavy, and nature reveals yet another of its intense and unpredictable faces. In northern Chile stretches one of the driest environments on Earth. The Atacama Desert is known as the driest desert on the planet. In some areas, there have been no significant records of rainfall for decades. The landscape feels Martian. White salt flats, reddish mountains, wind-carved rock formations, and geysers releasing steam at dawn. During the day, the sun is relentless, and ultraviolet radiation can reach extreme levels. At night, temperatures drop sharply. Water scarcity is the greatest challenge. Dehydration can occur silently, and the vast distances between settlements make any planning mistake potentially dangerous. Sandstorms can also arise, drastically reducing visibility. Despite such severe conditions, the Atacama is home to resilient communities and some of the world's most important astronomical observatories, thanks to its extraordinarily clear skies. The Atacama Desert is a land of contrasts, dry, silent, extreme, yet astonishingly beautiful. A territory where life exists at the edge. About 15 kilometers off the coast of Nagasaki rises a concrete island that resembles an abandoned battleship at sea. For this reason, it became known as Gunkanjima, Battleship Island. Hashima Island was once one of the most densely populated places in the world, driven by underwater coal mining. For decades, residential buildings, schools, and shops operated there, compressed into a small territory surrounded by concrete walls. But when coal lost its value in the 1970s, the island was quickly abandoned. Today, what remains is a landscape of deteriorating buildings, broken staircases, and empty corridors exposed to the salty sea winds. The structures have been weakened by time, and access is restricted to specific areas for safety reasons. Hashima is a striking portrait of the cycle of human rise and abandonment, a place where the danger does not come from extreme nature, but from structural decay and isolation. Beneath Yellowstone's breathtaking landscape lies one of the largest active volcanic calderas on the planet. The park is famous for its geysers, colorful hot springs, and bubbling pools, a natural spectacle that attracts millions of visitors each year. But the ground there is quite literally unstable. Geothermal areas conceal superheated water and boiling mud just beneath a thin crust of earth. A single step off the designated boardwalks can result in severe burns. Over the years, accidents have occurred when visitors ignored warnings and ventured too close to the hot springs. In addition, Yellowstone sits atop a dormant supervolcano, constantly monitored by scientists. Although a major eruption is considered unlikely in the near term, underground activity never completely ceases. Yellowstone is a fascinating example of beauty and danger coexisting side by side. A vibrant, colorful, and seemingly tranquil setting, sustained by powerful forces that remind us the planet is very much alive. Rising more than 200 meters above the Atlantic Ocean, the Cliffs of Moher are one of Ireland's most breathtaking landscapes. On sunny days, the deep green of the cliffs contrasts with the blue of the sea, creating an almost poetic scene. But during storms, everything changes. Violent winds sweep across the cliff tops, sudden gusts can throw visitors off balance, and massive waves crash against the rocks with deafening force.
The combination of wet ground, sheer edges, and unpredictable weather has led to accidents over the years. The dramatic beauty of the place is precisely what makes it so captivating and potentially dangerous. Nature there does not ask permission, and it gives no warning before it shifts.
The world is filled with places that defy logic, test limits, and awaken both fear and fascination. From isolated islands to extreme deserts, from active volcanoes to zones abandoned by humanity, each destination we explored today reveals an intense and very real face of our planet. If you enjoy discovering incredible places and exploring the most astonishing side of Earth, subscribe to the channel now and tell us in the comments, which city are you watching from and which of these places impressed you the most? We'll see you on the next journey.